share with you some American comic books from one of my favorite movies, but these were the very first editions. I'm going to show you the first 8 issues. These are as they came from the comic book store when I picked them up the first time. What was great was when the movie came out, we got to see the first run of it while it was in theaters. And while we wait on the 4K version of the movie to actually come out, I still have the first special edition of the DVD here, which is one of the first time I've ever seen a steel case, and it's quite an amazing set here. So for the era. Again, if you've never seen Akira, an amazing film, amazing storytelling, one of the most amazing 2D animations you will ever see. So Akira number 1. And yes, I've read all of these all the way through from the very beginning, so that, you know, I knew the story before I was even going in. The movie is extremely true to the comic book in many aspects, but again, it's just it was a big shock to the system when American audiences were introduced to the gang, the ultra violence that was going on, and that this came out in a comic book format. But it's also, if you have never seen it or read it, it is a crazy mind bender once you realize what's actually going on and who some of the characters are. Now, of course, this is the English version, put out by Epic Comics, which was an offshoot of Marvel Comics. And of course, this was put out in Japanese first, so. Sorry if I'm going too fast. I'm not sure who's going to sit through me flipping through a whole bunch of pages, but you know, who knows? Some of you may have never have seen these before, so. And again, you can't really read too much of it. And again, I try and make sure that these don't get bent too far. As a comic book collector, I learned early on that I could damage books really easily, because when I started collecting my very first comic book, and I'm quite old, I picked up in, I believe, 1975. Yes, pre-Star Wars. I had a friend of mine who was really into Spider-Man and comic books. He introduced me to comic books originally, and we were up in Los Angeles, and went to a comic book store, and I found 2 comic books that just, well, actually one comic book that I just read over and over and over. And of course, that put me at about 6 years old, 7 years old, 6 years old, 6 or 7. And I still have that comic book, and I'll show it to you probably tomorrow. That comic book has no cover anymore. Rendering is done. And I'm probably going to pick up a copy of it, because so I have a copy to put in a picture frame on my wall, but I'll keep the original that I've read to death. But no one could ever guess what comic book that would be or who the heroes were. And but if you can, put it in the comments. Let me know what you think my very first comic book was in 1975 that got me interested in comic books. I'll give you a hint. It's a comic book team, and but it wasn't their team issue. So I'm not even going to tell you Marvel or DC. I'd like to pick up a collection of these, actually, the actual story in like a book format as opposed to having the comic books, because it is my goal to have these, again, framed. Probably in one large frame where they're all separated, but in one big frame, because, you know, the covers are just so amazing. Sorry, I kind of whipped through that one. And the other thing I would say is that, you know, you guys are living in a beautiful time. If you want to, you can get a subscription to a comic book online source and be able to read comic books on an iPad or on your computer nowadays. And they even zoom in to picture by picture by picture as you're going to go through them. So you can actually read the content, which is really, really great. But yeah, and my daughter's the same way. There's a tactile experience to reading comic books and be able to feel the pages and see them page by page. Know that this was created a very long time ago. One of my favorite scenes from the movie, the gang fight, and as he comes down here, and there he is jumping over the bike, and you see him crashing in. And then the showdown. I can almost hear the drums. So if you've never seen the movie, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but it's an incredible scene. I should watch this on my 65-inch TV because it is phenomenal. It starts going off script a little bit from what the movie does. There's obviously more in-depth character animation and stuff, character development. And then I am evidently missing number 7. This is number 8. Never went back and collected it, unfortunately. Now this is how the cover came. It has that slight overlap. There's nothing I can do about that. That's how it was actually produced. These all came out, let's see. If you've ever seen the movie, you know what part we're in right now of the craziness that is about to ensue. Anyway, day 2, let me know what you guys think, and hopefully you're entertained of some sort. But like I said, while I'm stuck here teaching out of my house, I figured I've been wanting to go through this collection quite some time, so I thought I would share this with you.